Dear my fellow English learners, I am honored to be here to share with you my personal experience of how I learned and improved my English speaking skills. Before I start my presentation, I would like to ask you some questions about the common belief as well as the fear that holds you back whenever you want to speak a word in English or want to strike up a conversation with um, your friend in English. Have you ever judged yourself or been judged by somebody else that you are not making any progress just because you do not sound like a native speaker? Or as knowing that you are learning a new language, some of your family members, especially your parents and your friends, may ask you to answer some of their questions in English or to strike up a total conversation with a foreigner that you meet on the street. That is really awkward. And personally, I've been through those situations, and it was fairly disappointing and embarrassing for me as I couldn't say a word. So that's why I'm here today to give you some tips and help you to learn, and we can get better together. As English learners, we know that there are two model of accents that we want to pursue. That's a general American or American English or and perceived pronunciations or British English. Most of us may think that in order to do so, we only need to practice our vocal elements, like try to lower your voice tone or to like deepen your voice or to emphasize a certain word in a sentence or to eliminate some sound so that you can speak perfectly like a native speaker. That is true, but not enough. Why? In order to speak as natural as a native speaker, you need to get exposed to the culture. You need to use English like constantly, like a tool in your daily communication, from listening to speaking and writing and even like reading the newspaper or something. And so it hinders the chances of many people try to speak English because they think that they are not good enough, they are not intellectual enough to speak English. But that is a wrong belief, and I will give you some tips so that you can get exposed to the culture and get better in the process of learning English in the next section, so stay focused. Secondly, the problem stems from the official language education in many Asian countries, including Vietnam, where I come from. Um, we focus too much on the use of grammars, especially in grammar writings, and the use of vocabularies. Like we do have some exercises that test students on the use of um, vocabularies or some phrasal verbs, but there is no at all the context. So the student lack the understanding of the importance of the context as well as the importance of listening and read and speaking skills. Also, the teachers tend to evaluate a student's performance based on only on those exercises or the ability uh, to write a paragraph in English. That's all. Thirdly, the problem also stems from the dynamic of the classroom. Inside a classroom, we have a lot of expectations from the teachers and the students. As the students, we have a lot of expectations on our teachers to be a perfect person. I have noticed that in some classroom, actually like in many classrooms, where a teachers doesn't possess that near native accent, he or she tends to be ignored by the student because the students believe that he or she is not qualified enough to teach them. And this is extremely harmful because they miss out chances to focus and to be attentive to the common mistake that even the teacher makes. So they will have more chances to repeat them in the future and they cannot get better. In those three problems that I have mentioned so far, there's only one thing that we can't fix immediately, that is the official language education. It requires more time, more effort, and investments as well as power from the government or from the National Department of Education. However, those two other problems, you can easily recognize it from today and to fix it constantly as you go to the English classes. Try to speak more or try to ask the teachers to create some speaking activities inside the classroom to make the lectures more exciting and interesting and engage more students attention. Also, I will give you several tips from my personal experience so that you can use them not only in learning English but also to learn any other language. So, the first thing is that you need to have a self foundation where you base all the process of learning a new language on. That is, you need to embrace your own accent first to recognize the mistakes still that you are still making while talking. So there's nothing bad, there's nothing ugly about your accent. Accent, according to Crystal, writing in the dictionaries of linguistics and phonetics in 2008, she proposes that accent is the accumulative auditory effect that defines where a person comes from regionally and socially. So, your accent is heavily and profoundly influenced by the culture where you were born into. So, you need to first recognize this notion, to embrace it, to accept it. And actually, speaking English in your own accent, not too heavy, so that other person can also listen to you and understand you. To speak English in your own accent is to announce that you have confidence to mingle and you are ready to catch up with the globalization, but also are, but also you still accept and embrace your own origin and your uniqueness. So that is a self foundation that I want you to remember. Embrace yourself and embrace what you have. Secondly, you will need to have the tools to practice and to build up that process. And as I mentioned before, you will need to get exposed to the culture. How you do that without living and studying in some English speaking countries. I'm not your teacher, so I will not recommend you to go and watch some TED Talk videos or BBC Learning English because I found them too difficult to catch up with, let alone learning from it, especially for those who are still the beginners. So what I recommend is find a type of music that you like in English and listen to them so that you can learn from them. Personally, I would recommend two latest albums of Taylor Swift, which are Evermore and Folklore. Um, those songs are the stories, and she sings those songs in a way that she tells the story, so you can easily imagine the daily conversations, and also you can listen to how she pronounces a word, the rhythm of the of of this of the daily conversation, of the daily speech is also indicated there, so that you can learn from those songs. And the music is really soothing and relaxing, so that you can use them whenever you have sometimes in your hand, or you just want um, to sit back and let your hair down. When I first learned, when I began to learn how to speak in English, I watched a lot of cartoons movie, because when we learn a new language, we are like children who learn to speak. I would recommend Phineas and Ferb, because there are a myriad of conversations ranging from schools to supermarkets to house, between like family member, between friends, and between strangers and strangers. What you can learn from the series is the context where the communication is um, is happening, so that you know the importance of context when you speak English. Remember, communications without context has no meaning. So focus on the context as well. Lastly, you will need to have courage and confidence. Um, Most of you may think that this is easier said than done, but that is because no one has ever told you or explained to you what does it mean. To have courage is to offer the open, the friendly attitudes to the person that you are communicating to. Imagine the image of an Asian drunken uncle. He may have, he may not have like fancy words. He may not have some complicated grammar structures, or he may easily mess up like the basic elements of English. Of English, he still tries to communicate with a foreigner whenever he has a chance. So be like him and offer that friendliness to the person that you're communicating to in an appropriate way, not to like too excessive or something. That is not good. To be to be confident is to have something valuable to offer to the person that you are communicating to. That is to invest in your content. As the person that you are communicating to, recognize something valuable in your content that you want to express. He or she will pay attention, will listen to you, and respect you. So make sure to offer them something that they can learn from you. And um, as you offer the attitudes as well as the content, you guys may have a great conversations together. So despite a lot of announcement saying that those two model of accents do no longer serve the purpose of learning a language, many of the English learners are still restrained under the burden that they have to be perfect when speaking English. That is not true. And what you need to do is to embrace your origin, to embrace your accent, to acknowledge your mistakes by maybe like writing them down and notice it, so that you don't make that mistake next time. Also, you will need to get indulged in the culture, which means you need to find some interest in the process of learning English by listening to the music that you like, or to watch your favorite movie in English. That is easy in this digital world. And lastly, You will need to have the openness and the friendliness, as well as the valuable content to the person that you are communicating to. And remember to listen to them as well, because before you learn how to speak, you need to learn how to listen. And I would like to end my speech right here by wishing you guys best of luck, best of effort, and success in learning how to speak English. Thank you for listening.